We are here for a hearing in the Council's Committee on Planning, Development and Transportation on docket number 0175, order for a hearing regarding equitable access to public transportation with a cashless fare collection system.
We want to thank the MBTA, and of course we want to thank riders and advocates for being a part of this very important conversation, a timely one while we are considering major changes to our public transit system.
We have the Director of Fare Policy and Analytics, Laurel Paget-Seekins, and the Chief Technology Officer, David Block-Schachter. I also want to welcome and thank the General Manager, Luis Ramirez, for joining us, who's back there for now, but if it gets too tough or if we have other questions, we will certainly ask you to join the panel as well.
Just thank you for having us at this public forum. We're really excited about this opportunity to kick off this stage of our public outreach for this project in Boston, especially given its importance in the MBTA system.
So again, I'm so glad to be here. My name is Laurel Paget-Seekins, and I am the Director of Fare Policy and Analytics for the MBTA. And I sort of joined the team to really sort of lead the policy conversations with both our internal and external stakeholders around some key decisions that we need to make in order to get the benefits of the project that David just mentioned.
Thanks. Thank you for holding this hearing, councilors. I'm Stacey Thompson, the Executive Director of LivableStreets Alliance. And I would say that my overarching message today is that we need policy before technology. I do applaud the MBTA for making a major investment in their system. However, the structure of that investment, the success of that investment will depend heavily on the policies and structures that we create to guide that implementation. And I think it's important for all of us to be thinking about the context within which we are trying to implement this system. Today, 23% of Bostonians, approximately 150,000 people, live below the federal poverty line. According to MAPC's State of Equity report, Black bus riders spend 64 more hours per year on buses relative to their white counterparts. We need to create policies that are explicitly designed to address these equity gaps, especially as the MBTA continues to increase fares. In 2019, the T will very likely vote to increase our fares, and that would be the second increase in 3 years. AFC 2.0 will not operate in isolation. It is coming at a time when our city and our region are grappling with inequity, and we have an obligation to ensure that the implementation does not compound those inequities. So what we would recommend is focusing on 3 key areas: fare policy, enforcement, and short-term mitigation efforts. When we look at fare policy, I would say blatantly that waiting until 2021 to figure this out is too long for the people that I mentioned earlier. The way we currently collect fares unfairly burdens those with the fewest resources, and I don't need to get into that, we've already covered much of it. Many low-income riders pay ride by ride, and they have no subsidy from their employers. I pay up front once a month, and my employer covers the cost of my pass. So what this means is that the folks who are paying ride by ride often pay in cash, and they come up short. They are penalized when they're, let's say, transferring from the Fairmount line to a bus. There is no cap on what they pay, so at the end of the month, I've paid a flat rate, and they may have paid more than me. These issues are largely not a matter of technology. They are a matter of policy. And we urge the T to address the issues of inequitable fare policy before rolling out AFC 2.0, because it will enhance the success of that great investment. We also need to know who currently is not able to pay full fares on the MBTA service, especially on our bus system, which services the largest portion of low-income riders. Here are a few solutions we'd recommend in this category: instituting a low-income fare policy, like our neighbors in New York. Just for context, they align that with SNAP benefits, and that again hits that $25,000 threshold. I would also just say that the folks in Seattle, which Julia mentioned, right now 25,000 residents are part of that income-based program. So we know that these programs are very popular and successful. I will say, however, that there are a couple of things that we would recommend that are based on the new technology. One is to create a fare capping policy, which we would be able to do with the new system, and allowing for free transfers between commuter rails, trains, bus lines, which I know is also on the docket and something that I think we should really focus on and make sure happens. In terms of enforcement, this has already come up, but I would just say we need to be clear about who is responsible for enforcing these new rules. Will it be T Police? What will the penalty be? If a child gets on the back of the bus and didn't pay, will that child be kicked off of the bus? Will they be asked to pay something? These are important questions we need to address today. Right now, we have a policy choice to make. We can choose to make the fare inspection teams an intimidating force that further police our most vulnerable communities, or we can develop equitable procedures and principles that lead to fairer, safer measures for enforcing these new policies. Today, if you park your car outside of City Hall, and you don't pay the meter, you're not going to be confronted by an armed police officer. You're going to get a ticket, and it's probably not going to be very scary. We want to make sure that you don't have something scarier happening to you on the T. We need to make sure that people have access to opportunity, not more opportunities to be criminalized. And in terms of mitigation efforts, I think you'll hear a lot from my colleagues specifically, but there are many, many things that we have been asking for in the short term already around making our system more accessible, including looking at Zone 1 fares. And we think that it would be a great idea for the T to look at both piloting some of the measures that, things that they want to do as a form of mitigation. So, for example, there's a lot of concern about where people will be able to purchase these fares. Can we look at communities that are already underserved and test out some of the strategies that we would recommend around making sure that specific types of businesses have access to that business first, or measures around wayfinding so that if you are new to this community or maybe this country and English isn't your first language and you show up at a bus stop that has no information, you know how to get somewhere to pay fare. We can test all of these things now that will both function as mitigation and as a way to test the new system. And last but not least, I want to be very clear about what the city and our leaders can do. David and Laurel, who testified earlier, as was made clear, are often not the decision makers. The decision makers will be General Manager Ramirez, Secretary Pollack, the governor, and the legislature largely. It is critical that the mayor and the city council show leadership and are clear about the needs and expectations we have as a city, and we look forward to working with you and the T to make sure that AFC 2.0 is successful and serves everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank all the writers and the advocates here today, and the MBTA. I think it was a robust conversation. Appreciate folks again being so prescriptive in their recommendations, and look forward to working with the chair and the MBTA.